Thank you for watching and listening to a new edition of the East West Football Podcast. I am Fidel Barraza. Alongside with me, like always, Kendall Whitley, Jerry Martinez. What's going on, guys?
What's going on, man? What's going on with you?
Shoot, next Thursday, finally, season's on. Season starts. This is kind of like the longest 16 days, right? I believe it was 16 days to count off, but next Thursday, let's get it open, right? It's gonna be Bills and Rams, I believe.
Yep, that's the Thursday night kickoff game. But obviously, a lot to get to. Teams had to be down to 53 today, so we'll get to some of those notable cuts. I mean, some of the names on the list, it's crazy that they were even cut, right? But it kind of just shows you that there's a lot of players out there that are very talented that are making these rosters still. But let's go and get started with some news that broke yesterday. Jimmy Garoppolo and the 49ers agreed to restructure a one-year contract that will keep the QB in San Francisco this season. Sources tell Adam Schefter his one-year restructured deal is worth $6.5 million in base and fully guaranteed per source. Look, everyone I spoke to out in the Bay Area and just, people, sources that work with the Niners, they all thought that Jimmy Garoppolo was going to get cut. Like, no questions about it. Like, no one ever thought that this was even a possibility until the preseason happened and Trey Lance was not looking like the quarterback that should be leading this team this year. A lot of people believe that this roster is Super Bowl caliber. So that is the reason, more than likely, why they're bringing back Jimmy Garoppolo on a one-year contract.
Well, I think first off, you got to find out like what does it do for Trey Lance for his growth and for his future, whatnot. Do they really like him or what? Because you think they would have got Jimmy Garoppolo out the door if they really believed in Trey Lance. I mean, that's what you would think. I mean, he played most time. He played most in the preseason. Jimmy Garoppolo didn't play at all in the preseason. We know the history behind Jimmy G and the Niners. It was kind of like a little messy all season. Were they going to cut him? Were they going to keep him or whatnot? But I think it has more to say about Trey Lance. What I think.
I'm not ready to give up on Trey Lance. I mean, he's still young. I think this is maybe the right decision to do. I still felt that maybe Trey Lance, maybe you were meaning to say, was maybe still one season away from seeing what he could do. Right? Maybe he needs to learn a little bit more. But regardless of the situation, I think the Niners, they fumbled this, and I mean, what better way to suck up your pride than just keep him around, just in case, a safety valve, something happens. I mean, we did see Trey Lance go down. I think when he took over, I think he went down. I think some kind of,
Yeah,
was it
he
knee
was hurt
injury?
against Arizona.
It was like a knee injury, I think.
Yeah.
So, I mean, with Trey Lance, obviously it's going to be some exciting time for the Niners, right? Because now you're going to incorporate the running game of the running back into your already very strong running attack that the 49ers have.
I mean, like, this isn't good for your young quarterback's confidence. Everything you did this offseason indicated that Jimmy Garoppolo was not going to be on this roster by today. You made it pretty clear this is Trey Lance's team. But now, I mean, you can even see some of the videos and pictures that Jimmy Garoppolo wasn't even involved in practice. He was just kind of thrown on the side. He had an offseason shoulder surgery. And look, just from the reports that I read and what I've been told, Trey Lance did not look good during training camp. You saw him struggle in some of the preseason. The roster is good enough, I believe, to go to the Super Bowl. And the only thing that's kind of holding this team back is at the quarterback position. Now, look, they gave up a lot to get Trey Lance, right? So, I mean, Trey Lance, a lot of pressure is going to be on Trey Lance this season because you're going to be tempted if you start off this season, slow start 2-2. Look, the first two games out the gate, they should have won. They should be Chicago and they should be Seattle, right? So if he struggles in there, you know what the cameras are going to do during the game? If Trey Lance is struggling, they're going to show Jimmy Garoppolo on the bench. And this is a team that has a lot of veterans on it, right? So, I mean, you think they're going to want to waste this year on with a quarterback that's not, I guess you can say, you're ready for the spotlight? No, they're going to want to play Jimmy Garoppolo.
And that's what I was going to say. Like, if he does struggle out the gate, can you just go back to Jimmy G? Can you or not?
Well, I mean, you already kind of re-signed him for another season. I mean, what's the worst that can happen, right? I mean, this is not going to be good for Trey Lance's development, in my opinion, because you got to struggle with your young guy. You win and you lose, right? I mean, we saw this with Tua Tagovailoa whenever Ryan Fitzpatrick was on that team. What Brian Flores was doing was kind of pulling him whenever he felt he could have won the game. And obviously, we remember that Week 17 game against the Buffalo Bills where Ryan Fitzpatrick couldn't play and Tua Tagovailoa just couldn't get the job done.
I mean, all those points you guys brought up are, I think they're all good points. I think that though with Kyle Shanahan, he has a pride thing, man. He's already past the point of no return, I think, at this point. And you can't be playing that game because I mean, if anything, I mean, you're gonna become a joke, and that's the last thing you want to do, especially if you want to be a head coach. So I'm pretty sure Kyle Shanahan's gonna suck up his pride and he's gonna make Trey Lance make sure that if he's doing bad, he's gonna make sure that that running game excels. So I think if anything, uh, we're not really gonna see Jimmy G unless an injury happens.
I think we're going to see Jimmy Garoppolo this season.
I
Without
doubt
a
it, man.
doubt. I believe we're going to see him.
The only way is
He's
gonna
going to struggle.
the only
And they're
way
gonna
is
be
gonna be
tempted.
through injury.
I,
That's the
I
only way.
agree. I agree there, Jerry. I think the only time we'll see him is Trey Lance if he gets hurt or whatnot.
I don't know. I got a feeling we're going to see
3
this
first
guy.
round picks, man. You can't mess that up. You have
But
to.
Jerry, at this point, you kind of already admitted to the mistake, right? I mean, you were going to cut Jimmy Garoppolo. You weren't able to because he was injured, right? And even at that point, you're asking maybe for too much, and you're going to end up keeping this guy.
I'm sorry, Jimmy G can't do it. I mean, we saw what he did in the Super Bowl. He can't cut it. He's not a Super Bowl winning quarterback.
Who would you rather have right now be your starting
Trey
quarterback,
Lance.
Jimmy Garoppolo or Trey Lance?
Trey Lance. I think there's some things on
Yeah.
that I see that I like. There's some things I don't like.
I want to see what Trey Lance. I think the fans want to see. I think the team wants to see.
Yeah, Trey
One more
Lance
Trey
has a very lively arm, and I think that he can make those plays that need to be made.
We know what Jimmy G is at this point. We know.
All I'm saying is the temptation is going to be there. If the young kid struggles, I mean, look, they're going to
Yeah.
they don't want to lose. They want to win at the end of the day, right? They want to win a Super Bowl. If Trey Lance struggles, this is a good team. They got some good weapons on this team. So
We've
if
seen
he struggles, all
we've
I'm saying
seen-
is that the temptation is going to be there for Jimmy Garoppolo.
we've seen Sutfield. We've seen all the other backup quarterbacks win with being a backup when Jimmy G was down. And I'm pretty sure this is gonna be the same thing. It's gonna be a little bit better with Trey Lance. So I don't know, man. It's still a long season up ahead, but that's what we always say. And at the end of the year, we're like, man, I can't believe it's already the end of the season, right? So it's gonna be an interesting storyline. I know we're all gonna be following it very closely. You more so, Fidel. You'll probably hear a little bit more because you're from that Cali area.
Yeah. So, and then we actually did have some trades that went down today. Earlier today, Eagles received safety Chauncey Gardner-Johnson and the Saints' 7th-round draft pick in 2025. The Saints received the Eagles' 5th-round pick in 2023 and the worst of their 2 6th-round picks in 2024. Now, talks broke down between a contract extension between Gardner-Johnson and the Saints, and that's ultimately when they shipped him out to Philadelphia.
Good move, big move for Philadelphia, man. He's a great player. I think he's under the radar. I believe it was a late round. I don't know what round he went in, but it wasn't one of the top rounds. He's a really good player. It's been a pretty good player for the Saints. And he's given Tom Brady and the Bucks issues for the past 2 or 3 years. He really has. And you should go follow him on Twitter and whatnot. He's a very good Twitter fellow. He tweets a lot. But just a good trade for the Eagles and whatnot. And I just like what they're building there in Philadelphia.
Man, I'll tell you this: the last time this happened, Malcolm Jenkins turned out to be a monster for the Eagles. But of course, it's a different defensive coordinator and whatnot. But who knows? Maybe they'll find something like lightning in a bottle. I know that was the year that the Cowboys traded away their 1st-round pick for Amari Cooper. I remember waiting until the 2nd round. I was like, man, this is the time we should jump on, Chauncey Gardner or Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. There was a bunch of safeties that in that time, this is strangely enough, right? Like 3 seasons ago, I think 3 years in the league.
And they didn't have to give up much for him either.
No,
I believe he was a 3rd-round pick to be exact. So yeah, I think overall this is a win. We know that the Eagles have always put an emphasis on not only their tight ends, but their safeties and their quarterbacks, and of course their left tackles, right? Which is another one that they acquired, right? Andre Dillard, he was a former 1st-round pick last year. I heard he was going to get traded, but they kept him in the 53-man. So we'll see, man. The Eagles look like they're sticking to their guns. Howie Roseman's sticking to his guns as far as how he likes to build his teams.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Eagles have had a really great offseason. I mean, to me, I think they should be the NFC favorites, or NFC East favorites, I should say. But of course, Jerry, I'm sure you have something to say about that. So we do have Mike chiming in. Who is the NFC East favorite So I'll let you start that off.
I mean, let's stick with the Cowboys. I mean, I'll tell you this: if I had a little bit more faith, and I'm pretty sure this goes for all Eagles fans, I had a little bit more faith in Jalen Hurts. I would say it's a runaway, but at this point, the Cowboys have done something kind of sneakily. They built up a reputable defense, and I think when you have somebody like Michael Parsons, I mean, we saw how he got to Patrick Mahomes last year with the revamped offensive line that the Chiefs did for Patrick Mahomes, and Michael Parsons was able to get to him. So it's not only Micah Parsons, but let's look at what Trayvon Diggs did to his former, to Jalen Hurts, which they were both at Alabama. I mean, two picks in one game. I think one pick six, right? So I think at this point, I think what the Eagles did this offseason is tremendous.
Yes, it is.
I think in another season, holy moly, it's going to be kind of hard. Cowboys are going to have to do something spectacular to continue to have that East throne. But I'll tell you this: the Giants and the Commanders have also stepped up their team building this offseason. So I'll tell you this: it looks like the NFC East is going to be what the NFC West used to be, which is good for us, right? Because I won't be hearing about, the Cowboys are in the playoffs because of the division. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of like what I don't like hearing, because at one point NFC East was the strongest division in all NFL.
I think on paper it's the Eagles, but if I had to be a better man, I'm going with the Cowboys. Dak Prescott, the best quarterback in the division, is not even close. But on paper, if you want to talk about the offseason, who won the offseason from the NFC East standpoint, the Philadelphia Eagles, not even close. And I like what Jerry said. I think the Giants and the not the Skins, but the Commanders are going to be a much improved team this year.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest question mark, obviously, how Jerry touched on, is Jalen Hurts. And I doubt if he has a bad season, he'll be back in Philadelphia next season, because, I mean, this roster is pretty good when you look at it on paper.
Yes, and they set themselves up well. If Jalen Hurts has a terrible season this year, guess what? They got 2 first-round picks next year. They can move up and get a quarterback, get one of these top quarterbacks. It's a deep quarterback class. It's coming. Draft whatnot. Next year. So I mean, they set themselves up. So it's a win. I mean, if it doesn't work out this year, they're good. The future is bright in Philadelphia, I feel.
Yeah. So we'll see how Jalen Hurts ends up playing this season. All right, let's talk about some notable cuts that happened today. Obviously, there's quite a few names, so I'm just going to name a few. Duke Johnson, O.J. Howard, Matt Barkley, Sonny Michel, Lynn Belden, Preston Williams, Mohamed Sanu, Malcolm Butler, Tevin Coleman, Tony Jefferson. I mean, I can just go on and on, right? Marlon Mack. But to you guys, who was the one player that when you saw the list and you saw that he was cut, you were like, I can't believe they cut him?
I'm gonna go with Tyler Johnson. Jerry, y'all know back from my draft shows a couple years ago, I love Tyler Johnson out of Minnesota and whatnot. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Tyler. That kind of shocked me, and I think Preston Williams from the Dolphins. I'm a big wide receiver guy, but Preston Williams from the Dolphins, he's a pretty good player. Didn't have a lot of opportunities in Miami because of Parker and now Waddle Hill. They got a lot of depth there, but I think Preston Williams, he could be a pretty good find for some team.
Yeah, I mean, it's so hard, right? Because the dust hasn't settled, right? And we know come tomorrow, we're gonna see teams making waiver claims and whatnot. And when we look at the waiver, not anybody can just pluck these players out, right? But I would say, the one that really like hit was an actual draft class that the Vikings had. I thought the Vikings had something like brewing with Chaz Surratt. He was a former linebacker out of North Carolina, and also Wyatt Davis, an offensive guard from Ohio State. And then throw Kellen Mond on there, right, which is out of Texas A&M. I believe he was their 3rd round pick. I think he was there for only just one season, right? And of course, O.J. Howard. I thought that he was going to have a resurgence with the Buffalo Bills. So from what it looks like the NFL is allowing veterans to go to a practice squad. Maybe some of that's what these teams are hoping, right? That they don't get claimed and they can get stashed into the roster spot and then call them up when they need to. But I would say Kellen Mond kind of left me kind of like, wow, I can't believe that they just gave up on a highly coveted quarterback. Now, he wasn't a 1st round coveted quarterback, but I mean, he definitely was, talked about a lot during the draft, the NFL draft process.
Yeah, I think Marlon Mack for me was a surprise for the Houston Texans. I know they have that rookie running back Pierce that they like, and
Amen.
they should be running back number one as everything points to. Philip Lindsay also being cut by the Indianapolis Colts. That was a surprise to me as well.
It's kind of hard, man. The Colts have Jonathan Taylor right now, which was your favorite, I think, running back when we first
Yeah.
started this whole podcast, right? I think that
Seemed like it just a couple years ago where Lindsey was like one of the top 5 running backs in the league, and now it's crazy.
But I mean, I think that just shows that there's a lot of young talent coming out of college, right?
for sure.
That's able to perform better. And I mean, the running back position is one of those positions that obviously they don't get the big contracts in order because of injury, and they can just kind of plug and play. And a lot of offenses like to use a lot of different ones. We got Mike chiming in. Philip Lindsay was a surprise cut for him as well. But yeah, obviously tomorrow, I mean, I'm sure we're going to see a lot more roster moves that happen. Also, a trade that we forgot to talk about is Trayvon Mullen being traded from Las Vegas to Arizona.
Good trade for the Cardinals. I think they needed, some cornerback depth there. They've lost a lot the past few seasons or whatnot, dating back to where they lost Patrick Peterson a few years ago, whatnot. So I think it's a good move for Cardinals and whatnot. They get a decent player from the Raiders.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, he doesn't have to step in and become like, he doesn't have to be, their number one corner, right? And that's it's always a good thing. But wow, the Raiders really, this new regime really cleaned house. They don't want nothing to do with Mike Mayock or John Gruden's. Um, I guess I
Some
was
other
gonna say
draft class.
lenient. I was gonna say lineage, right? But no, because I think when the Raiders, right now, I'll direct it to Fidel, right? Because obviously the Raider Nation. Um, I think what you guys had, Reggie McKenzie. I think that he was hitting. I mean, he was just hitting it. As far as team building wise, I mean, he's the one who brought in. He's the one who brought in Derek Carr with Khalil Mack, or Khalil Mack then Derek Carr, right? And
Yeah.
I mean, when you looked at that team that he was doing, it looked great. But then John Gruden kind of like started kind of deconstructing that and building it up. I mean, look at what he did. It just looks like a fumble by Gruden. And we heard today Gruden, apologizing and saying that he would like another shot. I think that it's kind of hard. It's very difficult when you look at these kind of situations.
Yeah, I mean, obviously them cutting Alex Leatherwood. I mean, look, they tried to trade the guy. They weren't able to. They tried to switch in position. It just wasn't working out. I mean, it was just a horrible position to be in. And yeah, they're going to eat up some of the dead cap money, but he's not on the roster anymore. So I think that's best for both parties, is for Alex to kind of find another team or find something else to do.
That was the year that you guys found a diamond in the second round, Trayvon Muir,
Yeah.
out of TCU. You guys, he looks like Charles Woodson out there, man. I mean, he looks fun. I know that he's not at that level yet, but I mean, I'm just saying it looks fun when you
Good
look
player.
at that. Yeah, he could play. So
Yeah.
I remember one time. I'll say this story real quick. I remember one time. I remember somebody asked the question, what was the biggest reach in this year's draft class? And I said, I think the Raiders kind of reached with Alex Leatherwood. And man, that guy put me on blast, man. He had a whole he made it a pinned comment on his Twitter blog. He had a scouting report saying that Alex Leatherwood would be a Pro Bowler in year 2 and all this stuff. I'm like, hold on, man. I work with a team, and we look at this stuff. Shout out to Walter Stringer. And to the whole scouting team that we have here on EastWestFootball.com, man. I mean, we all talk about this all year round, right? Which is we watch college ball. We're familiar with these names. We see what they can do. Obviously, Leatherwood is a little bit more of a well-known name because he was playing with Bama, and Bama has been in the championship rings for how many years now? So
I lost count. They've been there for a while, man.
I mean, it's almost like every year Bama's there in the national championship, and we could see that Leatherwood still needed some work. You know what I mean? It was kind of a rough transition from him becoming an offensive tackle and then being an offensive guard into the NFL. So I did hear, and I did read, and I heard through because obviously the Cowboys are looking for offensive line depth and wide receiver depth, and that was a question: was would the Cowboys put in a claim? It's kind of an interesting topic. I mean, why not, right? I mean, I think at this point, I think there was another player from the Jets that the Cowboys inquired. It was an offensive tackle. But when we look back at that situation, Duke Johnson, I don't know, you guys remember Duke Johnson from
Of course.
NFL Network? He said that all Leatherwood needed was a strong-minded offensive line coach that would and one position, and if you put him to work on that, he could become, a potential growing, a growing uh, block on an offensive line for any NFL team. But you just got to go in one position and a good coach.
Yeah, I think he's going to get a second opportunity. It's just obviously it's not going to be for the Raiders. Look, I mean, obviously a new regime came in with the Raiders. He was not their guy, right? I mean, and they just didn't work out. He just didn't look good during the preseason.
Well said.
And unfortunately, it's just the way it works in the NFL.
True.
All right, guys. Any final thoughts on the first day, I guess you can say, of roster cuts?
Well, tomorrow, it's a big day because, you get the teams can start putting players on PUP and IR whatnot. One interesting thing we didn't talk about, Byron Jones got put on PUP for the Dolphins, starting cornerback. That's huge for this. He's starting cornerback, formerly Dallas Cowboy. I think that's pretty big. That's a pretty big move that we didn't address it earlier, but I think we're gonna see a lot more names tomorrow.
Michael Gallup did not get put on no pup list, man. He could play week 1. It's crazy.
Now when I saw that, I was like, wait, am I reading this correctly?
And they don't have a backup quarterback on the roster right now. But that's why we said let the dust settle, right? Because after that, like you're gonna start seeing IR moves. It's just people how they're able to use the teams are able to use the actual the roster to develop and have that 53-man roster active.
And then also Bills star cornerback Tre'Davious White. He will start the year on the pup list as well. It looks like Mike's got another question. Who is your sleeper Super Bowl picks?
Ooh, a little early.
Man, it's August the 30th, man. We don't do those until September 11th.
We'll do that next week.
Yeah, next Sunday, man. Make sure you tune in. We got our Super Bowl picks for the year, so. All right. Well, that's going to do it for this edition of the East West Football Podcast. Thank you, everyone out there, for watching and listening. We'll talk to you guys soon. Have a great night.